Hello, everybody. Welcome to class 39. Today, we're going to be covering youth sports.
Today I'll be doing basketball. Basketball is a sport where you throw the ball into a hoop. The goal of the game is to score as much points as you can. Each time you make it is 2 points or 3 points for the three-pointers added to your score. Usually youth would play it like any basketball game. As for the younger folks, they might not be as great with the rules, so it's fair to be lenient with them.
Swimming is a sport that youth can partake in. It is good to learn swimming young because it can be needed in some certain situations. It is good for health, and learning swimming while young can prepare them for professional swimming if they want to in the future. Swimming can be recreational, meaning just for fun, or competitive, where you compete with others. Youths or teens interested in swimming can join swimming teams. Some schools have swimming teams, and some organizations will host competitive competitive swim events where they can compete in.
I did baseball. Baseball is a sport that anyone can play, even babies can play. You just need a glove, a bat, and a helmet, and you should be good to go. It improves children's gross motor skills. Baseball is also a full body workout. It requires stamina and a fair amount of strength. This is good. This is good for keeping your child fit and healthy, because children need to grow, and being active is good to maintain good health. Baseball is a high school sport and also a middle school sport. My school has a varsity baseball team that competes against other baseball teams around my city.
Hi, I'm Samantha, and I'm going to be presenting pickleball. So, what is pickleball? Pickleball is a sport that is played on a badminton-sized court with a tennis-like net. It is a sport that is age-friendly and can be played by people of all ages. It is a great sport for children and seniors, and it is a fantastic way to bond with family. Pickleball is an easy sport as its rules are straightforward and simple. It also does not require as much mobility, which allows people to easily play pickleball without worrying about having to move too much. So, how do you play pickleball? Pickleball is very similar to tennis as you start off the game with a serve. However, the serve must be served underhanded. Once the serve is hit, the other side must allow the ball to hit the ground once and return the ball. Though the receivers must be cautious as the ball is not allowed to hit the ground twice, the ball is also not allowed to hit the net, and the ball cannot go out of bounds. Doing so will result in faults, which automatically gives the other side the point.
I'm Ellie Zong, and I'll be presenting badminton. Badminton is a racket game played by two people or single pair, but it can also be played by four people, two on each side of the net, doubles. And the objective is to hit the birdie over the net into the opponent's court in a way that it cannot be returned. The top of the net usually measures 5'1" from the floor, and a standard badminton court dimensions are usually a rectangle 20 feet wide. 20 inches wide. No, not inches. 20 feet wide. Yeah, sorry, and 44 feet long, and it is 2.5 feet high, and it's the net, and it's too stretched, and it is supposed to be stretched across the playing area at half court. And players toss a coin to see who will get to serve first, and the winner of the toss is the first server. And the server begins the game by hitting the birdie over the net with the badminton racket to the receiver. For younger people, the net is usually lowered because their height is less than that of adults, And sometimes it's difficult for little kids to hit a small birdie with the small head of a badminton racket. So you can get a larger racket if needed. And depending on the number of players, skill level, and available equipment, or the size of your playing area, you can modify the basic badminton rules to fit your needs. And I put a link in the slide to show you the rules. And
Okay, next I'll present youth wrestling. Relative to adult wrestling, rules for scoring are the same. It's 2 points for a takedown, 1 point for an escape, 2 points for a reversal, and 2 points for near fall points. Duration of matches for men is 3 rounds of 7 minutes, while for kids is 2 5-minute rounds. And equipment in adult wrestling, you're required to wear headgear and wrestling shoes, but in youth wrestling, since there's less impact, protective gear is optional. You can see from the image on top is kids wrestling and on the bottom are adults. Why kids should start young? Because it boosts body coordination and muscle strength, and also emotional maturity. The kids learn how to take a loss, they learn to be humble, and they learn to work hard.
I did handball. So handball is a team sport where 2 teams of 7 pass a ball with their hands to score it into the other team's goal. It consists of 2 periods, typically 30 minutes each, and it was created in the late 19th century in Denmark. The sport is most popular in Europe, but it is also popular in East Asia, North Africa, and parts of South America. Similar versions of handball is traced to ancient Greece, and players can't run when in possession of ball but can pass to others. Throwing the ball into the goal scores a point, and it was popular enough to be included in the Olympics. And for the question, no. Handball is a different sport from volleyball.
Today I'm gonna be talking about cross country. So cross country is a running sport where runners will race long distances on a course. There are typically multiple runners representing their school. Boys and girls are splits, and there are novice, junior varsity, and varsity races for both, depending on how fast each individual runner is. And for middle schoolers, races are typically around 1.5 to 2 miles, and for high school, races are typically 3 miles long.
Hello, I'll be doing jump roping. Okay, so jumping rope is a leisure activity and can be a competitive sport. And basically how it works is that the participant tries to jump over a rope that is being swung. The piece of rope would go under their feet and over their head. As for its origins, explorers reported having seen indigenous Australians jumping with vines in the 16th century. And the intended age group for this activity is 3 years and up, and generally a youth sport, and it's very safe for children.
Hi, my name is Jason Lamb, and I will be doing volleyball. So, volleyball. In the classic form of volleyball, especially in higher leagues and in the professional league / standard league, you will usually see volleyball played quite a lot. Volleyball as a general sport is a team sport in which 2 teams of 6 players are separated by a net. Each team tries to score points by grounding a ball onto the other team's court under organized rules. The teams usually have a rally where they will try to hit the ball over the net and continually keep on hitting the ball over and over and over until one team wins. The team that wins the rally is rewarded the point and serves the ball to start the next rally. A few of the most common faults include causing the ball to touch the ground or floor outside of the opponent's court without first passing over the net. This basically means that if it touches the ground or floor outside of the opponent's court, then you lose. If you catch or throw the ball, then you also lose because you can't really like hold the ball in any sort of way in volleyball, unless if you're really serving it, and that's kind of like the only part of which you can. You also can't double hit the ball. So let's say if I quote unquote set myself, set is usually where a person will throw up the ball and try to set the ball. And then what will then happen is that a following player will come in and maybe set the ball again or try to hit it over the net. And depending on what series of events goes on, then that happens. However, I can't set the ball and then jump back up and slam it over to the other side. I can't technically do that. It's against the volleyball rules. I can set the ball. Somebody else can set the ball, and then I can jump up and hit it again. However, it can't be continuous setting or touching the ball. There's also the rule of which if you can only do 3 contacts. So that means that the amount of contacts that you can do is limited to 3. So then a team can't just hold the ball on one side and keep on just popping it up, popping it up, popping it up, and just popping it up over and over and over and stalling out time. So basically this forces the flow of the game to constantly going back and forth and back and forth. And there's also net fouls. So that is basically where if I touch the net during the game, so let's say I'm like, maybe I'm defending and I touch like the net like this and I pull it for some reason, that is counted as a foul and it is an instant loss for my team for that rally. And there's also the foot fault, and basically that's where you cross the boundary line when serving with your foot. So kind of just like stay behind the line when you're serving in volleyball, or else you're going to be having problems with you losing the rally. Next slide. So let's talk about how the difference between youth and traditional. You can see that youth volleyball actually operates pretty closely to traditional volleyball. And but there are some differences. So for example, 1st to 4th grade is actually 4v4 instead of 6v6. It only changes to 6v6 at 5th and 8th grade, which is a key difference because if you're trying to play volleyball or trying to teach somebody who's playing volleyball in 1st through 4th grade, they can't have a 6v6. It is technically against the rules. There's also the net height. It is 6 feet. The net basically tops off at 6 feet for 1st and 4th grade and 7 feet for 5th and 8th grade. There's also stuff about the court. So for badminton, for the courts, a badminton court will actually be utilized for grades 1st through 4th. And the standard size of the court will then be used once you hit 5th or 8th. You can kind of see a pattern here with the 5th through 8th being more of the standard. And not only that, with serving, the 1st through 6th grade will be allowed to serve from a spot on the court, which they can basically successfully serve with a net. So basically, this is kind of the difference where in the 1st through 6th grade, what you are allowed to do. Remember how I said that if you step over the line, you will basically be a foot foul? Well, this is kind of the exception because in 1st through 6th, you're actually allowed to step over the line and serve from wherever you feel comfortable, or at least comfortable enough to at least hit the ball over the net. But however, once you get to 7th and 8th grade, you will have to serve all the way in the back of the court, which is a change sometimes. Not only that, for 1st through 4th grade, you can see the pattern here, 1st through 4th grade, they are allowed to use volley light balls. These are actually smaller and much lighter balls than the normal volleyball. And the official volleyballs will then be used from 7th to 8th grade division and higher, by the way. So let me just cover some overall differences and maybe even some questions of which have come up in the chat. Some people have asked, what kind of skills do you really need to play volleyball? And to really play volleyball, some of the things of what you really need to be able to do is, especially as I already did mention, setting. So setting is basically where you take the ball and you just like flick it upwards so that it just goes like up or very little to any side. Because what setting basically is to make sure that you set the ball correctly so that when the second set, by around the second set, so tap once, tap twice, after the second set, the person who is hitting the ball over has the ball in the correct position, so really close to the net. So let's say somebody might set the ball and then another person sets the ball. Where they want to set the ball is probably like one inch from the net, so that when the person jumps up to hit the ball over the net, they're really close to the net, meaning that they can do a more direct shot to the floor instead of having to do a really arcing shot over the net, if you understand what I mean. Another thing that you have to really take into account while playing volleyball is the fact that when you do play volleyball, you also have to have good endurance because you're going to be running around a lot. You're going to be jumping a lot. You're going to be basically swinging your arms and trying to hit the ball. Sometimes you're even faking the hit. So for example, somebody might jump up and fake to hit the ball while somebody behind them jumps up and actually hits the ball in another direction, if you understand what I mean. Now, there's also the final thing about volleyball is that it's also, you need to have the skills to be able to jump high, so your legs have to be strong here. That's because in volleyball, you're constantly jumping and trying to set the ball. So like jump, set, and jump, hit. All those sort of things do have to have different skills with how volleyball is different. So I hope that answered all the questions, and I believe that is all from my slides. Thank you.
I'll talk about softball. Softball is a game similar to baseball, played with a large ball on a field that has space lengths of 60 feet. A pitcher's mound that ranges from 35 to 43 feet away from home plate, and a home run fence that is 220 to 300 feet away from home plate, depending on the type of softball being played. And a fun fact is that the name softball was given to the game in 1926. Despite the name, the ball used in modern softball is not soft. You don't need many things to like play the sport. So basically you need ball, bat, gloves, uniform, and protective equipment. That's why like kids could also play the sport. Softball is really good for kids because it's like best for kids who are socially oriented and team oriented. Kids can start as from 4 to 5. Kids could practice their teamwork and sportsmanship, strength, hand-eye coordination, sport and position-specific skills such as pitching, fielding, and running.
Soccer. So there are a couple rules to soccer. They're mostly the same as normal adult rules, but one of the main rules that many kids don't know is that like only the goalies can touch the ball with their hands, and if anyone else does, it's a hand foul. And then also there's no fouls, and that includes like pushing, tripping, and slide tackling. Another important part of soccer for for kids is that there's the 2-touch rule, which is that players cannot touch the ball twice. But this only applies when putting the ball into play. So that's like when the ball goes out, and then people have to do like a corner kick or penalty kick, which is or a throw in, which is when the ball goes out and you have to throw the ball back into the field. And then there's offsides, which is where a player cannot pass the ball to another player if that player is behind everyone but the goalie. And if you look at the picture here, you can see that basically onsides is everywhere in front of like the defensive line, and then anyone behind all of the defenders. So just in the middle of the goalie and the defenders, that's offsides, and you can't pass to them. And if you do it, it results in a free kick for the other team where the offsides was committed.
I'm Gavin and I did tetherball. A tetherball is a game where volleyball is suspended from a pole by a rope with 2 players hitting the ball. The players hit the ball in opposite directions, and the game ends when one person managed to win the ball all the way around the rope. The final wrap must be above 5 feet or 1.5 meters high marking, but it's usually lower for younger players. A tetherball was invented in Britain during 1875.
Football. Difference between flag football and football. The main difference between these two types of football is that flag football does not involve tackling the opposite player who has the ball. In flag football, each player wears 2 flags that hang down at their sides from their waist. These flags are often attached to a belt. Why is flag football safer for youth? A CDC study published in Sports Health reports youth tackle football athletes aged 6 to 14 sustained 15 times more head impacts than flag football athletes during a practice or games, and sustained 23 times more high magnitude head impact, which is hard-headed impact. Many experts believe that flag football is physically safer, especially for young and still developing bodies. Much of that is driven by concerns in concussions and resulting brain injuries, from pro sports on down to the youngest new players. Rules. Well, these are some of the rules. All passes must be forwarded and received beyond the line of scrimmage. Only direct handoffs are permitted. There are no littles or pitches anywhere on the field. The quarterback has 7-second pass clock to get rid of the ball.
Hello, my name is Daniel, and I will be talking about tennis. Children's tennis. Tennis can be played at a very young range. And it's recommended at the age of above 4 when children have the concentration to begin learning. It strengthens health to keep fit and improves cognitive and motor skills. It's also able to encourage personality development when interacting with others. The rules of tennis is generally the same as regular tennis, with adjustments to equipment. The main rules include hitting across the net with 1 bounce, keeping the ball in bounds, and hitting the ball only once. Underhanded serves might be encouraged if the child cannot hit it over far enough with an overhand serve. In tennis or in children tennis, there's specific rackets called junior rackets where the size is around 17 to 26 inches, and the strings are usually softer too. Children's tennis also uses pressure reduced balls that are called stage balls and can be identified by the unique colors. And with children's tennis, they usually have smaller courts.
Golf. Golf is a game where players use various clubs to get a ball into a series of holes in as few strokes as possible. It is usually played with 1 to 4 people. When to start? Kids can start playing golf from as early as 2 years old. However, it's easy for kids to hurt themselves or someone else with the equipment used to play golf, so people usually wait until the kids are around 6 years old. Golf also has many complicated rules which are hard for kids to understand. 6 is also the age where kids can start playing games in some tournaments. When kids play golf, they start playing closer to the hole than adults since they can't hit as well or as far. Other rules are the same for kids as for regular golf. For kids from age 5 to 12, 130 to 150 is the average score, and 120 would be a good score.
I'll be doing hiking. There are many trails for hiking, but because of COVID, a lot of trails were closed. Essentials before hiking, getting a guidebook to see how long each hikes are and what landscapes there are. Start hiking small trails and then slowly adjust to longer ones. Bring a lot of water and prepare for a lot of hiking materials, such as boots, jacket, depending on the weather, first aid kits, maps, flashlight, snacks, and sunscreen. Start at the trailhead. Each trail has a sign that says trailhead, which shows the name of the trail and the distance. And lastly, follow the hiking signs.
Hi, I'm Juliana, and I'm gonna be doing gymnastics. So what is gymnastics? Gymnastics is the performance of a systematic exercise, either as a competitive sport or to improve self-strength, agility, coordination, and physical condition. There are different types of gymnastics, and they include rhythmic gymnastics, artistic gymnastics, and trampoline gymnastics. And it's a popular sport for kids because parents tend to send them to improve strength and balance from a young age. The different types of gymnastics. So the most common one that young kids will do is artistic gymnastics. It's a classic sport where gymnasts are challenged to perfect their skills in different events. Females and males have different events. The female events include beam, vault, uneven bars, and floor exercise. And the men's artistic gymnastics includes rings, vault, pommel horse, horizontal bar, parallel bars, and floor exercise. The next most, I would say, popular gymnastics is rhythmic gymnastics, which is a sport where performers perform with another item. They usually perform a dance with another item, and these items are the hoop, the ball, the clubs, the ribbon, or the rope. And it challenges gymnasts to dance while being strong, flexible, agile, and balanced. And then finally, we have trampoline gymnastics, and is an acrobatic training tool and a competitive Olympic sport where athletes will perform acrobatics while bouncing on a trampoline, and it improves balance and strength. The picture right next to the trampoline gymnastics where a girl is like upside down is like the different tricks that they'll perform. And then the girl next to that in the red leotard is a girl on the beam. And then the last one is a girl with a ribbon dancing to one of her performances.
Hey, I'm Eric Kai, and I'll be doing spike ball. So spike ball is a pretty obscure sport. Like, I don't think many of you guys have heard of it before, but I used to play it in 6th grade. It's not really called this, but the company likes to call it the love child between volleyball and foursquare because it has similarities to both those sports. It's a 2v2 game, so it's two people versus two people, and there's a net between all four players. The game is played by spiking the ball onto the net to the other team, bouncing it off the net. The action spiking is achieved by slapping the ball downwards. You can hit the ball up to 3 times before having to bounce it onto the net, which is sort of like volleyball. Hitting the rim or the ground of the hitting the rim of the net or the ground loses the point to the other team, and players can move anywhere after the serve, but the ball has to go to the other team once it hits the net. These are just a few diagrams of a spike ball net and players playing spike ball. As you can see, people just stand at opposite ends of the net and then try to spike it to the other players and try to make it so the other players can't get the ball back onto the net.